With the big move by Tesla laying off at least 10% of their 140,000 employees worldwide, the question is, where are the layoffs going to hit most, and how big of an impact might this be on Tesla vehicle sales? One of the big concerns investors had was when they heard initial reports saying that Giga Berlin was going to cut 3,000 jobs of the 12,500 employees. That would have been a massive hit to production. Well, the good news is Giga Berlin executives themselves came out to refute that. We're going to explore that further. We're going to talk about where these cuts will impact and why the reorganization needed to happen in the first place. Joining me to help me figure this all out is Brian White. He's the host of his own YouTube channel called the FutureAza. Great channel. Thank you so much, Brian.
Great to be here. This is a topic I've looked into quite a bit over the last few days, so I hope I'll be helpful.
I think you will be. As always, you know a lot about the factories. You've been following them very closely, and you're very good about calculating the projection of how many cars Tesla would produce. You don't normally want to put yourself in a position to try to forecast deliveries, but production, you're dead on. And that's why you needed to know what's going to happen here, because this is going to impact production quite easily. So here we go. So obviously a few days ago when Elon and Tesla announced that they're going to do layoffs in the company, up to 10% of the 140,000 employees were going to cut, then there was immediately people saying that there's going to be 3,000 of the 12,500 employees in Berlin were going to let go. But today, Giga Berlin came out and said that that's not true. They refuted the claims that was going to happen. And we still don't know exactly how many are going to cut, but at least they said, the claims that the 3,000 jobs would be cut is not true. Now, these cuts have already hit the workers in China. Maybe you can explain that to me later. Some of their Tesla sales teams, that their roles were redundant. And then according to Tesla Berlin, though, there's no basis whatsoever. The Giga Berlin workers have not yet received notification about pending job cuts. But of course, you're going to explain a little bit that it's very different in Berlin and Germany in general for the employees and their laws and legal scenarios there. There are signs that Tesla is considering layoffs in Giga Berlin for sure. So, Giga Berlin said, we're examining this measure and will pursue it for Giga Berlin against the background for all labor law and co-determination requirements. So including the work council. So they haven't announced it, but they're definitely going to do it. They haven't made the notes. They've already sent declaration of intent to the work council and to the IG Metal, which is the union there. But the employment agency has not been informed yet. So they're still in the middle of all this. And so, if it's going to be, so some people like the economics minister said that it's going to be less than 10% of its 12,500 workers. So that would be 1,250 instead of 3,000, which would be a lot more logical. What's your thoughts on everything on this?
So what we got was, as far as I can tell, the rumor of 3,000 started with Der Spiegel or Tag Spiegel. This is very common in the news cycle where someone remotely credible reports something and everyone just piles on. And all they'll do is say, according to reports, it's 3,000. Now, if that first one turns out to be wrong, as it appears to be the case this time, they're all fine. They covered their bases by citing their source, even though their source was wrong or lying. In Germany, they have works councils. They're like unions, but very, very different. They're designed to ensure worker rights. And what you end up with is a group of employees, a group representing the government and society, and a group representing the company. And they all work together to find the best solution all the time, whether it's wages or working conditions or anything. And it's not a adversarial relationship like you'll see with U.S. unions, where it becomes a hot issue. It's just a thing. Everybody does it. Companies expect you to get married to them without them marrying you back. They want all of your commitment without any from them. And in most of Europe, that doesn't work. If a company's going to ask you to move all the way across the country and work for them or give up other opportunities, they expect some security in return. So when there are layoffs, they have to be not just announced, but filed. There's an, I think it's the Works Council or someone like that, the Employment Office is what it said in yours, that has to be notified of exactly what layoffs are happening. It's just how it works. So if it was 3,000, that number was concerning to me. I can't see 3,000 positions that could be cut. That's too many positions. If it was even 10%, 1,200, we're getting closer. That's a better number, but a number lower than 10% is where I think it needs to be, and it's what Tesla has said. So you can't really cut the workers on the assembly line by more than a couple percent without losing production. They're still going gangbusters. They've got great production. They've got good market share across Europe. It doesn't look like demand is the issue that would make them need to slow down. It's something else. So what could that something else be? If we are pivoting from what you and I have long expected would be a multivariant compact to just a robotaxi, everyone who was working on designing for that compact is no longer necessarily needed. You could get by with a fraction of them. So we know they were looking to expand just to the north of the site in the clearing to build the next product. They didn't say which one. We assumed it would be the compact or even the semi. But if you were working on that compact and now it's scaled back from 3, 4, 5 versions to 1 or 2 that are already designed somewhere else, a whole lot of positions in white collar situations are no longer needed. And I imagine that may be where we're going to see the cuts.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
that if it was 3,000 jobs at a 12,500, then you're right. If it's 10% less than 1,250 out of the 12,500, then it's going to be just your general streamlining, reorganization, getting the best of the best kind of thing. The compact car and the robotaxi are built on the same unboxed model, so it's not like cutting. It's not like a whole new line that I need to not do anymore. It's basically the same product, just deciding this time around I'm going to put this plug-in instead of that plug-in, but it's the same product. So it's not going to reduce the number of employees. If they decided they're going to do the unboxed model in Giga Berlin, then that's what they're doing. Even if they decide to not do the compact car, they're still going to do it for robotaxi. Are you aware if they implemented or they're thinking of implementing unboxed model in Berlin?
As far as I can tell, there's no reason they wouldn't. It's got all the things you need. I think every vehicle after the Cybertruck is going to be unboxed, every new design at least, regardless of the form factor, because if it works once in their pilot line in Austin, it's going to work everywhere. And 10%, and this is something we should talk about, is not as deep of a cut as many people think.
Yeah.
Twitter, when it was still Twitter, before it was X, led the charge by laying off 70-80% of their workforce. Mm-hmm. And the competition looked at it and said, well, the site's going to fall apart to absolute ashes in days. And there were a few hiccups, but nothing. If you didn't know 70% had been laid off, you would just think it was a normal hiccup. So then we saw...
it's the other way around. You must have hired more people because the features just kept firing through every 2 weeks, something new.
Right. And then we saw Meta follow suit, Google, Amazon, big, deep 10, 20% layoffs, trimming a lot of fat. This is a normal business cycle to, you can't hire only perfect people. And a round of layoffs is an easy way to cut.
What about Giga Shanghai? So you heard there that at least they know that some of the sales staff have been affected. Tell me what you're hearing about the sales of Tesla for Shanghai and China, and then what have you heard about Giga Shanghai?
So sales in China work just like they do everywhere else, where most of the job is done by you, the customer, where you place the order and deal with everything through the app, and you just go pick it up. If Tesla is saying we've got redundant positions, I believe them, because it doesn't take that many people to deliver cars. It's not like a sales environment where you need an equal number of people on the lot to match how many people walk in the door on a Saturday. It's not like that. You can have 2, 3 people handle an entire showroom of looky-loos on a Saturday afternoon, where you couldn't with a traditional sales model. So what I haven't been able to determine is how much staffing they had in these showrooms, because the only footage I could find was of busy event type days when everyone was there with cameras. And on those days, it looked like there weren't enough sales staff, but those are not typical days. So we know Elon said on X just this week that we need to streamline the sales process. And this could be what he was referring to, though I think it's also everything on the back end that we don't see. But I think this will have no impact, first of all, on production, certainly, but also no impact on sales or deliveries. I think they can work a little bit more efficiently.
Okay. Going back to Berlin, because I know you answered some of this, but isn't it that I've heard that if you, of course, their labor laws are very strict. They're there to protect the employee, so that you have 90 days. And then after these 90 days, if the employee is working their past 90 days, if you let them go in the future, even if you fire them, they would need, I've heard 6, sometimes 12 months. Are you familiar with how much they need to be paid anyways?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it is a lot. And if you've been there a long time, I think it could be even longer, a year or two. Yeah. And the idea is, if you want me to come work for your company that may or may not have work for me in a year, you got to give me something so that I can, have confidence that this is the right move. This works for both of us. You can still attract the top talent, but you will have to pay if it doesn't work out. So that is very common throughout Europe, and all other manufacturers don't have a problem remaining profitable while addressing the workers with that level of dignity.
Okay, let's talk about the reorganization. So we've addressed this a few times, but why are they doing the job cuts here? Initially, the words that Elon and Tesla were using, and they just did it again with the proxy statement by the board of directors of Tesla. They initially were referring to streamlining, just making things more efficient, cutting the waste. But then yesterday, Elon started talking about a massive restructuring. Like, this is important because we're now headed towards the next phase. And then there's this debate that amongst the investors talking about, does this mean that Tesla does not need to create cars anymore? And that's why they're cutting all these job cuts for car manufacturing. When in fact, even if they did robo-taxi, they would still shoot for 20 million cars per year. I just reread the excerpt from Walter Isaacson's book, where Elon said, we're going to try to make as many cars as possible, referring to robotaxi. He said 20 million cars per year. So tell me about what you're thinking about that. I don't know if you've seen the debate. Some people are freaking out that this must mean that, then they don't need to make cars anymore.
It's the end of the auto era. I'm a lot closer to your camp on this argument than theirs. But I don't know that 20 million by 2030 is even possible anymore, because we needed factories, man. And where are they? We thought Mexico would be well underway by now, maybe even half complete. We thought that Nevada for the semis would be done by now. And we thought we'd see groundbreaking in Shanghai or Berlin or elsewhere. Now, it's still possible that we could hear an announcement about an India factory next week. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know it's going to happen ever, let alone next week. But it's because it's unclear what the objective is. If we're going with Unboxed for just one model, let's call it a yellow cab or a Johnny cab, you don't need necessarily factories all over the world. You could pick somewhere to build them, like Mexico, which has great trade agreements, and cover half the globe with one factory, because that factory, as you and I have crunched the numbers, looks like it'll be capable of 2 to 4 million units. That's an outrageous amount. I can't see much possibility of growing a robotaxi fleet faster than 2 to 4 million. Certainly with the overhead of keeping the cars rather than selling them, but also just in terms of sheer logistics. Forget the scaling on the app side. You've got to scale the maintenance locations and the user base and all that. There's obstacles to growth that wouldn't allow you infinite growth. You'd still have to go slow and steady, and I think one factory could realistically build it all.
Yeah. And by the way, this Giga India rumors is just hot on and off, on and off, on and off. We thought that they was going to visit with Modi in January. Didn't happen. There was all these rumors about them changing the tariffs. And then most recently, of course, he's announced he's going to be meeting with Modi, I think in just 5 days from now, April 21st or something like that, the day before the actual earnings call. But then Rohan Patel sent out a a message just before he quit, and he said something like all these rumors, especially about India, is wrong. So this is we assumed he was talking about this rumor that there would be a Giga India. Having said that, yesterday there was reports again refurnished that came out that said that Elon or Tesla is going to put in at least $2 billion into India. So I don't know where these reports are, don't know how valid they are, but it just keeps rearing its head up. We'll see in a week.
Well, one of the rumors I saw was that Giga Berlin is already building right-hand drive Model Ys to send to India. And I immediately called BS on that because that'd be like a day or two of production to fill the entire year's quota.
18,000?
8,000. It's 8,000 a year. So they could... and if for some reason the factory didn't come through, then all of a sudden you've got taxes due in amounts equal to the cost of the cars. So that would be a huge gamble. And I had pushback saying, no, they'll just store them. No, it doesn't make sense at all. And so and I think they're going to save those 8,000 per year for Model S and X sales. If you've already got other cars on the road, the infrastructure is there. Let's sell some premium units for those customers who want them. And maybe that would allow us to get the right-hand drive back for the S and X, which a lot of the world is clamoring for.
Are you still, if I had to throw a 50-50 thing, where would you land on Giga India?
I'd say more likely than not.
I think
it
so too, yeah.
It is what China was 25 years ago.
And also just that's where the robotaxi, or maybe not robotaxi, but the compact car would be needed. So that's the part where it's confusing whether or not they want to delay
Let's hope
that
it has a steering wheel. I would hope that they would have made it in a dual configuration with or without, but it's less clear this week.
What do you think about Giga Mexico? Again, that was like hot and heavy. We started seeing actual movement of machinery there, and then all of a sudden it's quiet again.
The machinery was all the state's machinery. They were doing infrastructure work to support the new industrial centers that they hope to have in that area. What is going on? I still say well above 50% chance. I think Mexico is still even more likely than India, but where is it? A lot of questions I don't have answers to, and I'm done listening to local ministers who say, I know exactly what's going on. No, I know what you hope, but...
We had that one guy that say, remember that one minister said, it's happening on Monday. The groundbreaking is happening Monday. So we're going, okay, if he says Monday, it's not like 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out. It must be right.
It was worse. It was worse. He said it was going to happen on Sunday. And I said,
like
in a Catholic country, it is not happening on Sunday. It's just not. Yeah, that's not happening.
All right, so we've made the rounds. What do you know about Giga Texas as well? Is there any signs that they're making the unboxed model already? I think you and Joe Tegmeyer believes that there's a section he believes, he's been talking about this for a while, that's already being built for that.
Well, I don't know that it's already being built. I don't think it is. The extension to the south, it doesn't even have all of its walls or roof, and there certainly hasn't been any equipment put in. And they're still pouring the heavy foundations, the footings that would go beneath, 80 to 100-ton machines. So, and those take a month to cure. So in that regard, we're at least a month out before equipment could even go in without cracking its own foundation. There also is there's a new mystery building going up, even just a little bit to the south of that. And I've seen speculation that it would be a data center. And I've seen speculation Electric was saying that he thinks the whole south end is going to be a data center, which defies belief. It doesn't make sense. You don't need heavy foundations for that. You wouldn't put south-facing floor-to-ceiling windows in a data center, and you certainly wouldn't put a data center in the middle of an active construction zone that's likely to remain dusty for 3 years. No part of that makes sense. So I don't have any knowledge of the compact model being already in production, even limited. I think that will be closer. I think the earliest we could see pilot production even would be Q1 or 2. So I don't know where some of those rumors come from, but they certainly circle the globe faster than I can shoot them down.
Okay. And then since I have you, can you tell me about, you've been following the cathode, the dry cathode factories in Giga, Texas, 4680. And then, of course, some people are saying the reason why Drew Baglino was let go or he quit is because 4680 has not gone as fast as it should have. And then that it was a money pit. And then that this dry cathode is not working out well. Can you tell us what you know about that?
So it is a money pit. Any new venture can be. That doesn't mean it won't pay off over the long term. We've looked at their R&D budget, and it hasn't been crazy, despite all the things we know that they're working on with chip development, with Optimus, with other projects. So if it's a money pit, it's not a huge one. And I don't know how it could be Drew's fault that 4680 didn't come online, especially if the limit is the technology itself. He can't make physics easier or the engineering better. He brought on the best people. They brought in a senior executive from one of the chip fabs. Which company was it? It might have been TSMC, but he came in presumably to work on getting 4680 ironed out. The cathode building there on site has been getting equipment loaded in for months. It looks like it's just now starting to come online. So we may begin seeing dry in-house made cathodes and the dry electrode coming thereafter. So it's all possible. It's all still in the works. And I would say, since we're covering all the factories, there was an announcement not too long ago that Tesla will be building a $500 million data center in Buffalo.
That's
so
great.
that's great.
That's where the restructuring of money is. Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
they're
good.
close to the hydropower right there. They've got good water for cooling. And labor is reasonable in Buffalo. It's a lot of good pieces.
Good. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for making the rounds around the world with me with all the different Giga factories. We'll see if there's an announcement in Giga India, 50-50. Don't know which way it's going to go. Thank you for confirming what happened in Giga Berlin. Thanks, everybody. Follow Brian. Go check out his YouTube channel. It is awesome. And it's just gotten better every single day. Check him out at FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.